in today's environment, so many kids are challenged. I mean, we're hearing 10, 11, 12-year-olds that don't want to be here anymore.
I know, it's sad, very sad.
That can't happen. So we need to dig down, and we need to say, look, life is better with you. You need to be here with us.
I love that.
You mentioned mindfulness, okay? And one of the things that we have to help families and kids understand is that just that calmness. Like if they could do yoga or sit down and do some mindful sitting for a little bit, and just let their mind go wherever it goes, but be at peace and try to
peace.
And that's how we have to help them with that. So how do you encourage?
That's huge, by the way. That has to be the foundation of every program in the country, because you have to learn people don't know how to breathe.
Right.
Breathe. They don't know how to breathe deeply to get that oxygen in. It's so critical, and nobody teaches them.
So give parents some pointers here. What do you when you're coaching the parents too, and your coaches are working with the parents, and they need to find that peaceful time for their child and themselves. What should they do?
Well, first of all, don't get into arguments with your kids. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
They'll get your goat. They'll say nasty things. Just remember to pause and breathe, because they will get your goat and that includes me. That includes me. Yep. But here's what I've learned. It's so fundamental to peace that if you don't get the right amount of oxygen through breathing, your executive function is not available, just not. And so I tell people, take any course or any app that gets you to pause during the day. And the two things you have to do is you have to pay attention to your body. When something doesn't feel, we all know there's times during the day we don't feel good, but we tend to push it to the side and not talk about it. Talk to your spouse, say, I'm feeling lousy. Have that spouse, listen to you and reflect back what you're saying. You can't believe the awareness that people get. They just don't know when they're feeling bad. They don't know what part of the body it shows up. Like for me, everything shows up in my stomach, it seems like. Everything.
Oh, yeah.
Everything. And the moment I do, I stop. And sometimes it's good. But, we are so anxiety ridden, we got to pay attention to that.
So the power, though, in it is being consistent with
Yes.
it. So, there's a saying, it takes 21 days to create a habit, right? But at the end of the day, if you could set something up in your schedule and block the time out and help the child block the time out. Hey, we're going to sit down for 5 minutes at this point in time. And, or you're going to do A, B, and C at this point. And be consistent with it helps tremendously because kids like a schedule too. They like to know what's coming. So, having that. So that's why we always blocked out time.
Well, that's right.
And at 7:30, we'd be working out. And that was what we did. Putting it on a schedule, putting it on and knowing what's happening at that time is very helpful.
Well, Anthony, the real issue here for parents is they try to coach their kids, and they're the worst people in the world to coach their kids. You need somebody independent that's not emotionally attached to it.
Right.
They can distance themselves from it,
right,
so that the parent can learn from what the coach is doing and watch the coach. This is how you do, and take a few sessions with the coach. Say, here's what I'm noticing about your son. If you don't do it, he's not going to do it. You got to model it. And so there's two things that I ask a parent all the time. What legacy do you want to leave with your kids?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want your kids to remember you as somebody that got angry and made me wrong all the time? Or do you want them to remember you as somebody who was calm and peaceful under stress and loved me all the time? You make that decision, because if you want to do that, you got to model those things. And by the way, the easiest thing for parents, I find, is to do those things, is to love, but they're afraid to, because they think they're not supposed to do that because it's so natural. I'm supposed to do the things that are hard for my kid. No, anything that's really hard and difficult is not the place to start.
Yeah.
Get the good going. ADHD is a challenge of momentum. You got to get the engine going first. If you don't, you're going to be stuck in the garage all day. You just are.
Great. That's a great analogy. Really.
So if you could give parents one daily habit that they could use with their child with ADHD, what would it be?
Acknowledge them with evidence. When you got angry, the way you so respectfully talked to me, I really appreciate that. You've been late for 75% of your classes. You got there 50%. You knocked that down. Mm-hmm. Every chance, but with evidence, not a compliment. The red dress looks nice on you isn't going to work as well as, every time I see you, I notice you have such great choice and taste and fashion. It's a whole different thing. You acknowledge with evidence. And that's when parents do that, more and more the kids start to believe it. But when they just make a statement, you know, with no evidence, the kids, yeah, you're just saying that, Mom, to make me feel good. So that's super, super important. And that's a skill that most of us, you know, it relates to kindness, acknowledgement and kindness. That's one of the greatest gifts of kindness we can give to our kids and the people that we love, is to acknowledge, you know, you do this really well.
So that helps them thrive emotionally and mentally.
Thrive emotionally and mentally, and it gives them permission to embrace what's authentic and natural for them, because they don't believe it. They don't believe it. It's got to be, you know, a lot of the things that we forget are because people don't remind us of them or never acknowledge them. Acknowledgement is there's a dearth of it in the world. There's a deficit of it.
So one thing we want to touch on, because we think it's really important for parents and kids, and especially today with social media, is that, you know, the bullying side of this. You know, we mentioned that Anthony was bullied, and how do we help kids today? And how do you help, you know, because mentally that has a terrible effect when they're being bullied and they can't even go to school, or they invite, you know, but most kids that have ADHD, we found, is that they still want to be involved. They still want, even if someone doesn't want them to be their friend, they still want to have them come to their birthday parties and stuff. So how do you give this guidance, David, that really helps them to understand, and parents to help them too? So when they're being bullied, what should they do?
Well, first of all, it's not about them. It's about the other person.
Yeah.
Right.
But the first thing is, you got a unique brain wiring, and because you're different, you stand out. And through the history of mankind, anybody that stood out was always bullied, whether it was a race or there's a historical perspective to this, and there's nothing wrong with you. It's just these people are ignorant and don't understand it. So one of the things is we've got to figure out a way to educate without any safety being involved. Like physically, this kid cannot be injured. That's the most important thing. That they need to have somebody in the school that they trust to go to. Kids that are bullied are afraid to go to anybody.
Right.
And they're all by themselves. So the first thing is they've got to find somebody that they trust in the school. And these are the loveliest kids in the world. They're the nicest. They're the gifts of the world being bullied.
They are.
And once they're not bullied anymore, they flourish. They flourish big time. So one is, it's not about them. It's about the people around them. And they feel inferior sometimes. So what they do, they beat them up, or they put them, and they can't do that. And the other is, you got to get support, because God forbid anything physically happens, that the parents have to advocate for that, because the kid might be afraid to do it on their own. So that's a parent thing. They've got to advocate.
Yeah, we had to do that.
Yeah. I did too for my son. He wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. It doesn't have anything to do with physical stature. Some of the biggest, strongest kids I know have been bullied mentally, you know, and
social media, right? Social media.
Yeah, social media is so bad for that.
So, you know, how do
you, so one of the things is, you create a message, a strong message. If it's social media, the parent has to help the kid develop a message that's kind. This is where listen, I'm sorry that you're picking on me. It makes me feel bad, but I just want you to know, I have this thing called ADHD, and it makes me different, but it doesn't make me broken. And I look at things and begin to educate them. When you do this to me, this is how it makes me feel. You know, and put that on social media. You will not believe how many people will start to support that kid, because they can relate to what he's saying. Right. Yeah. So this is all about authenticity. If that child sends an authentic message to these people that are bullying me, I don't want to be your enemy. I don't want to get you in trouble, but I can't take the abuse that I'm taking, and it's not fair, because this is who I am and this is what my brain does. And you send it out there. Oh my God, it can change things quickly. You know, social media can be destructive, but it can also be very empowering if the message is true and authentic. It's hard to argue with evidence based in science. It's hard to argue with evidence based on how a person feels. Those are his emotions. And if they're expressed authentically, it can change a lot of things from social media. I've seen it happen quite effectively.
Along those lines, David, there are so many parents who don't want to acknowledge that their children have ADHD. or that there's something that maybe they need to work on. So they can't give the child that encouragement because they won't acknowledgement. So what would you say to those parents?
I would say you're doing such a disservice to your kid. Do you love your child? Do you know that these labels ADHD does not mean he's broken? It might mean he has tremendous gifts that are getting buried. Do you want those gifts to stay buried, or do you want them to open up and be embraced and expanded and defined? And they don't understand because they think that ADHD is this negative thing.
Right.
And it's, you know, when it's negative, when you don't understand it.
Right.
And you don't do the things to make it better, and you exacerbate all the negative patterns that have been there, it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse, as opposed to, now, I'm not saying everybody should have ADHD.
Right.
But what I'm saying is we all have a brain wiring. ADHD is more challenging in a world that demands more of us. But there are ways to counteract that by doing the things that get your brain going, not that work against them. And what do most people do is they do the things that work against them because that's all they know. And if the parents do that, they're just making their kids' condition worse. They're just making it worse. And this is true of teachers who mean well. This is true of bosses in the workplace that have creative people that put them in an administrative position and don't understand that their creativity can bring more to the company than administrative skills. This is the thing that teachers need to identify. You know, you really ask great questions. Why don't you ask more of those and acknowledge the kids? There's just not enough of that.
There's not, and that's sad too. So you know, one of the things that we've done, because advocacy for your child is sometimes hard for the parents to do. So we brought on education advocates to do that for them, to be the liaison between the parent and the school system to help the child to make sure they get what they need. So how can we help educators? You know, because you know, a big part they spend what, 8 hours, 6, 7, 8 hours in school.
A lot of time with our kids.
Yeah. So how do we help? What can we do to help the educators understand this better, and you know, make it a worthwhile experience for them too? Because they play such a big role in the child's life.
Well, first thing is, coaches are terrific at doing this. This is something that every coach, if you bring them in, they should go into their local community and volunteer time to just educate the school system if they're willing to listen. Okay. I just had, believe it or not, in the UK, I was asked to present to 100 psychologists.
Oh.
And in the US, psychologists feel that, not all of them, their psychologists feel threatened by coaching because they don't understand it. Right. These coaches, psychologists embraced it. They loved it. They couldn't get it. They want me to come back and teach them more. They just embraced it. And in the U.S., I've educated physicians and all these people that just love it because we're doing it in a practical way. But the key is there's neuroscience behind it. It's just not made up. You know, it's all neuroscience based, but we do it in such a way that they get. So I think this is something that coaching can do really well. And it needs to be education, not just conceptual, but how it impacts the person in their lives. Because ADHD is a concept, but in reality, it's a condition that affects each person differently. Even though impulsivity shows up differently for everybody, emotional regulation. So if you understand the concepts and you understand what a situation does, you give them the tools to go out. What coaching is about is inviting that person to explore how their own ADHD shows up.
Right.
We don't tell them how it shows up.
Right.
We give them the guideposts so they can see it. And then we acknowledge the strengths. I got to tell you, the wonderful thing about coaching is it's so awe-inspiring because people become aware of things that have been inside of them their whole life and they're just seeing it for the first time. Anthony and Cassi, you know how many clients I've had them have me tell them, you're the first person in my life that understood my ADHD.
Yeah,
I bet.
First person.
I bet.
And nobody does this. And so that taking upon that means that every person that affects that person needs to be educated. It's a huge thing, Anthony. I've been at this for 25 years. We've made a dent, but we got so much more to do. Ooh. So much more.
We do.
But I think coaches can be a big help. I think this organization, you embraced coaching, and we're going to make a lead there. But, you know, you want me to come in and do a thing for 100 families, 50 families? I'll commit right now to do it for free and educate as many people as we can. We'll get as many people on a webinar.
We need anytime.
We
We need more education, more help, more guidance for people because they really don't understand. It's one of the most misunderstood and complex.
It is.
Complex.
Yeah.
It is. Most men are, and the most misdiagnosed on top of it.
And when a child first gets a diagnosis of ADHD, the parent a lot of times doesn't even know what do I do now?
Exactly.
So there's wonderful websites out there that give a lot of information, research information and things like that. But how important do you think that it is for parents to have hands-on help while they're trying to navigate their child's ADHD?
It's super. It's whatever whatever they can afford, obviously, to do. Everybody's different, but imagine this: you're learning something, you're learning a concept, but you don't know how the concept applies to your kid.
Right.
And the coach isn't coaching the parent. They can, but that coach can work with them and say, here's what your kid does in these situations. When they come home and they're exhausted and you take away the one thing that gives them energy called playing soccer, you're making their ADHD worse, and they're going to resent that. They're not going to want to come home after a while. That one thing can change a family's quality of life so quick. So quick. Go ahead, Ed.
Now, let me ask you this: as we sit here, so we're building this to help families that can't afford the care, and you said whatever they can afford. So if you had to tell people that were considering to make a donation to us, right, for our charity, and so that we can help more families and help more families get the help they need and get the roadmap they need, what would you tell some of the donors that are thinking about it?
Here's what I would tell them. Because you're a family-oriented organization, impacting families is the most important thing, because you're not talking about one person, you're talking about a number of people that are affected by the ADHD. ADHD has been proven for the most part to be genetic. Parent gave it, a mother gave it. As opposed to coaching one person, you're coaching the mother, the father, the kids. It's generational. We're starting to coach people in their 70s and 80s now.
Wow.
That are founding out, and that they feel this is what they tell me. I just talked to one. We have one coach that has one that deals with grandparents with ADHD, and she said to me, when they find out about their ADHD, this is what they say: I feel like my life is just beginning. It's like a whole, they grieve because if I had only known. And I said, what's grieving going to do? I understand, I grieve too, but you know what that grieving was there? So you can understand the difference between how bad it was and how good it can get.
Right.
So true.
That's and they embrace it. And you should see these people become like 30-year-olds. They get so darn excited because no one ever knew it. But when you have a family, families are more complex and there's more dynamics. You could have a parent that believes in it, one does and one doesn't. That's a challenge. And if everybody's got to be on board, because one parent can screw up the whole domino effect. But one of the things they have to understand is they're doing a tremendous disservice to their kid. Okay, if they don't want to put them on medication, that's their choice. And there are other ways. Medication makes it easier. It's not the answer all. It makes it easier. And for some kids, it's like a huge, huge difference. And for some, it's not. I'm not going to push that. I know it worked for me, but what I'm going to say, it's comprehensive.
Right.
So why did I say to you? Because, Anthony, this is one of the few comprehensive organizations that's integrating all these disciplines: education, coaching, exercise, positive attitude with, and resilience and nutrition. Nobody's doing that. Nobody. I mean, they say they're doing it, but they're not. Well, you actually have spent a lot of hours, time, and resources interviewing these people to get, like you said, the best. And from what I can tell, they are the best. And so we're making the coach's role change in that as a point person, as a quarterback, they now got options they never had before, not to do it, but to say, I know you need this. And as your coach, I can't give it to you, but Anthony's way can. So let's get it for you. That's huge. That's why anybody that's got money for funds to pay this organization, this to me is the organization they should pay. There's other good organizations out there, but for the family, there's nobody doing what you do, and I'm honored to be part of. And that's why they should put their money, because every cent. And by the way, I know this about you, and I can say this: I know how you and Cassi value this money. You look at it as their money.
Right.
I'm putting this in because I'm doing it for them, and
Right.
you've put your own money in on
right.
top of the money, and you've raised some good funds. But with some organizations, you don't know where the money's going.
Right.
With this organization, you are transparent. You're telling them exactly where it's going. And to me, that's the most important thing. So I'm not just saying this to make those people feel good. I'm saying this because you'd be stupid not to do it. You'd be ignorant because that's the truth. It's the best organization. And I've been with a lot of them. I've been president of some, and this is the first organizations that doing anything like you, very strategic and calculated. And we don't know how it's going to work, but we can tell you it's going to be better than what's out there.
Yeah, but every step we've taken so far has been very purposeful. I mean, we've got what we needed to do and planned it out, and so now we're continuing to move forward. And so I appreciate your.
No, that's the truth. I only say it. One thing about my ADHD, I get very passionate about something. You're going to know it. I'm not going to hold back, in good and bad. And I got to put the pause button on sometimes, as we all know. But for this, I don't need a pause button because I know this is great stuff. And I know the people that are doing got, fire in their eyes and passion in their hearts,
Thank you.
Passion about it. So, do you have any other questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to know, David, when you look back at your own journey with ADHD, is there a lesson that you wish that you could share with your younger self that you've learned?
Great. Boy, that's a great one. Yeah. Don't let what you can't do get in the way of what you can.
Fantastic.
Don't embrace it. People with ADHD don't trust their intuition. And the reason they don't is because they don't have enough great memories as a context to go in there and say, wait a minute, I've done this before. But once you get those memories, and it took me a while in my late 30s, but I'd say in my mid 40s, after a good 10 years of working hard at this, I had enough good evidence and memories of the things that I had forgotten to say, hey, wait a minute, I'm feeling lousy right now. I'm procrastinating. What's going on here? I feel it in my stomach. Oh, I need to pause and pay attention to something that's going to ignite it and activate it. And I have all these little memories, whether it's a trophy on my desk or a picture. All I have to do is look at them and my neurology instantly changes. But you got to have those prompts. So I think the key is knowing what you're good at and love to do, those two things, and embracing them authentically. That's why I love character strengths. I encourage everybody. We didn't have those 20 years ago. They're very powerful. But the thing is to savor them too. Two things I didn't do. When I did something successful, I just bypassed it and cross it off the list. I didn't celebrate. I didn't say, there's a big word in positive, it's like savoring it, breaking it down and anchoring it and take it. We don't celebrate it. We just cross it off the list and go to the next thing. And that doesn't make for strong memory. So you start from that place of what you do well, but aligned with passion and love. And the other piece is be kind to everybody. Be kind, even when they're nasty to you. You don't know what's going on in that person's life. It's so easy to get nasty right back. And I used to do that. How dare them talk to me that way? Now I realize they appreciate somebody who's calm, especially parents. The one thing you got to do when the fire's out there, you got to extinguish it with calm.
Yeah.
Calm, no matter what they say, no matter how nasty, calm. It's a hard thing. But
it's hard.
So what we need to do is we need to get this written up. Don't let what you can't do get in the way of what you can do. That sits so confidently with what.
Now I'll tell you where I got that from. John Wooden, the famous basketball coach at UCLA. Because I love. That's not mine. I just remember. Well, maybe I changed it a little bit, but it really was his. I got to give him credit. But he was a great coach. He was a great coach.
But it's so true. And then be kind to everyone. I mean,
be kind.
Choosing kindness is the way to go, and that's what we believe in too.
Anthony, I can't tell you how many kids and adults with ADHD tell me the following: when I get angry at somebody, in that moment it clears my head and I feel better. But when I go back home and I think about what I did, I feel 10 times worse than the person I did it to. And I tell them that's what you got to remember to stop it.
And that's why we're building in kindness. We have, and you're aware of this, we have a kindness workshop that we do for schools, where we encourage the kids to go put a team together, go out and do kind acts in the community, come back, and then they write down on an orange heart what they did, and they fill in a wall with all of those hearts of all the kind acts they did. What a great segment, because everybody's working together. If you have challenge with somebody, you're still working together on the same project. It's kind of cool.
Very cool. Very cool. And you know what's interesting about this, Anthony, that you do that, there's a lot of neuroscience that says when you're kind and loving, it creates oxytocin in the brain. That's the bonding love, the love chemical. You know, when parents have, when mom is having their child, you can tell how they've bonded with that kid by the love. You could see a kid that's well developed and regulated to the best of the parent's ability. You could see how connected they are. And that's why when somebody passes away, that connection is so strong, like you guys had to do, and my heart goes out to you with your son. It rips that connection apart that you've had, and you got to rebuild it, which you have. You've rebuilt it through your passion for helping no parent ever go through that again. And that's the other reason people should give, because you're not the only parents in the world that are going through this. It happens every day.
Yeah.
It happens every day. And God bless you guys, because you're the ones that took all this effort, all your energy, all your resources to make sure we don't want anybody else to go through this ever again, because they don't have to. They just don't.
And you know,
and that's why we're here.
And Anthony had 3 wonderful sisters. And they are a blessing too.
Yeah, and
they miss them terribly too. And so we don't want anyone else to feel that pain that we felt. So
we're going to do everything we can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and regarding your daughters, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. Okay.
Yeah. Why don't you close with what David? This is wonderful. We appreciate.
Thank you.
We could talk to you all day long.
I think that's what happens when we get together most of the time.
I don't think we could afford it if we had to pay for it.
That'll never happen between us. I can assure you that.
I know, but we have learned so much today, even, and every day we're still learning about ADHD because we're not experts on it.
I am too.
We have you, to help us learn things.
And here's the thing, Casey, I appreciate that so much from both of you. Just when we thought we were starting to understand ADHD, we're starting to get new research that's changing the way we look at it again, but here's the thing, the stuff that we're doing, that never changes. That's always got to be part of the mix. Research shows it over and over and over again. And so, what the medications do and how they impact, that'll change, okay? But what we do to support that and make it better, that will never change. That will always, because we have too much science that says the things that we do with kindness and coaching and education and the coaching process, it just affects the brain so positively.
Yeah.
It just does. And the heart.
Is there is there anything that we've missed or something?
No, God, no. That was the most comprehensive interview I've ever had. That was beautiful. Well, you're going to have to edit it. Because there's so much good stuff in there.
Well, maybe we'll make 2 segments out of it.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
But listen, I mean this. If we need to develop some sort of virtual seminar that we give credit to you guys for, and we get out there, and it's a freebie to educate families. Carolina will get on there. We've got PowerPoints. We'll do it in a second, because that's a good thing for corporations to see you're doing too.
Yeah.
We believe so too.
In fact, Anthony, here's what I'll tell you I've done. I forgot. Oh my God. You can tell any corporation that sends funds to you, I will go in. I've educated 3 or 4 major corporations, their management staff and their executives on ADHD for free, but only if they donate.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's great. That's a fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you. The nerve.
It just dawned on me. I should have thought of this a long time ago.
See, you did have something else to add.
There is.
Yeah, I did.
So, Casey last night, which is really cool of her, because she likes to sit down and think about how to close out sessions. And I'd like her to read this, because this hits home, and I think you'd appreciate it too, and everybody, all the listeners too.
It does.
Yeah, I want you to, because it's very touching.
Is there another? Hey, I'm sorry. I got to get it together here.
No, that's all right. Take your time.
So I wish it could be original, but it's not. But I just wanted to say thank you to our listeners, our viewers today for joining us on today's podcast. And as we close out today's episode, let's please remember this. Kindness is powerful. And for those living with ADHD, it can be a lifeline. A kind word, a patient moment, or a gentle understanding can ease anxiety, boost confidence, and support mental wellness in ways we may never fully see. This May and every month, let's choose compassion and kindness for ourselves and for others.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's amen to that. That's all I can say. That's beautiful. And the way you deliver it is beautiful too.
Oh,
So
thank you.
really, you know, you can have the words, but you got to deliver them. And is that how you guys want to end?
The other thing we do is our family motto, which you should know.
Right. Do you
Today-
know it?
Do you know our family
No,
motto?
no.
Today is the best day of your life, and tomorrow will be even better.
Oh, I love that. Today is the best day of your life, and tomorrow will be even better.
Yeah.
I'm adopting that sucker. I'm giving you credit for it, though.
You
That's
can't.
good. That's good too.
Guess who we got? And part of our whole care model, the Dale Carnegie Group, one of a special friend of mine, brought that to me at one of the class.
I love that.
And we lived with that for 35 years, sharing
Yeah.
with ourselves and with our family.
That's.
And they've taken it and shared it. And I've shared it with thousands of people across my.
Can you send it again to me in an email, because I'll forget. I love that because it's true. It's absolutely true.
And it was the last thing that especially Anthony and Gabriella, whenever they would leave the house for school, they would scream.
They would say that?
Out the
Yeah.
door, yeah.
Anthony ran
Wow.
down steps. Today's the best day of my life. Tomorrow's gonna be better, Dad. I mean, it's like he would run down the stairs saying it as he's running out to get to the bus.
But yeah, all of the girls have adopted it. We all have adopted it. So.
Oh my God, that's just beautiful. I love that. Everybody should be saying that.
Yeah.
Well, let's hope so.
Yeah.
You can get them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one thing to say it, it's another thing to live it. But
That's right.
You got so in those moments when there's a downside, I was
That's
telling people, hey, today's the best day of your life, and tomorrow's going to be even better. No matter how bad it gets, you got to remember that.
okay, so let's add a piece to that. So processing modalities mean there's another modality where you take those words and you make them stronger. Imagine having a picture next to those words of something that actually expresses that,
Absolutely.
and then just changing them every so often.
Yeah.
That's what my clients, we call them success diaries. And
Okay.
you keep them in. So you just add a great picture that, conveys that, and wow, you actually watch the chemistry change.
And so we've added to it, life is better with you.
Life is better with you.
Yes.
To that statement, you say life is.
Added
So
that,
we've
yeah.
added that. So the initial statement came from a Dale Carnegie friend of ours, Buddy Bresnik, and then to that, now you'll see on my emails, life is better with you. I mean,
Is that I haven't seen that. Is that just recent?
Yeah, I just added it about a little bit,
Okay.
about a month ago, a couple months ago. But I always put it in. Today's the best day of your life. And tomorrow's going to be even better, and then life is better with you, because we need to tell. In today's environment, so many kids are challenged. I mean, we're hearing 10, 11, 12-year-olds that don't want to be here anymore.
I know, it's sad, very sad.
That can't happen. So we need to dig down, and we need to say, look, life is better with you. You need to be here with us.
I love that.
We
See,
have to
that's really, really good, because it imagine everybody in the family saying that to each other too.
Yeah. It helps them
That's-
understand their value.
Value.
They need to understand how much they're valued.
And it's not always the parents' fault when that happens.
No,
Sometimes these
no.
kids just, for
No.
whatever reason, it could be their chemistry, or somebody has made them feel bad, or who
Right.
knows, and it's not easy being a parent either.
No, it's not.
It's not. It's not.
No,
Today, and even in today, it's even harder today than it was when we
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Hey, we appreciate you tremendously.
Anytime. I love working with you guys. This is
Love
great
working
stuff,
with you.
and we'll talk soon.